Secret weapons factories, nuclear disasters, giant pits of doom. Privyet! Welcome to Soviet Russia's best-kept secrets, closed cities. These settlements are closed to foreigners and require special government permits if you want to live there. They're not on any maps, located in remote areas, and you might have gotten a visit from the KGB if you broke in. These secret settlements sprung up across the Soviet Union in the late 1940s as nuclear and military development kicked into high gear for the Cold War. And believe it or not, many of these closed cities still exist today, tucked away in Russia and Kazakhstan, sealed off from the rest of the world. Number 15. Seversk. Seversk is one of the biggest closed cities on our entire list, with a population of nearly 105,300. Located in Tomsk Oblast, oblasts are a Soviet-era term for administrative regions, this city was once known as Tomsk 7, a postal code hinting at the closeness to the city of Tomsk. So why was it made a closed city in the first place? Well, it was home to the extremely scary-looking Sibirskaya nuclear power plant, the first industrial-scale nuclear power plant in the entire country. This was specially designed to produce weapons-grade plutonium for the Soviet nuclear weapons program. It was also the site of one of the worst nuclear incidents in history, the Tomsk 7 explosion. On April 6, 1993, a deadly tanker explosion rocked the facility, caused by a buildup of red oil that formed when a plutonium-uranium mixture reacted with nitric acid. This would be bad enough, but the explosion, which had a blast force equivalent to 220 pounds of TNT, blew a hole in the wall of the plant's high-level radioactive processing room. And it gets worse. It turns out that it was an unusually blustery day, and the northerly winds carried off a cloud of radioactive gas, which settled over the nearby villages of Georgievka and Nadezhda. It was an incident that was not only declared a Level 3 serious incident by the International Atomic Energy Agency, but one of the 10 worst nuclear accidents of all history by Time magazine. And somehow, it doesn't compare to the next city. Number 14. Ozorsk. Ozorsk is one of the most important and highly populated closed cities out there, with a population of 76,600. It's situated in the Chelyabinsk Oblast, widely considered to be one of the most polluted places on Earth. Why? Because Ozorsk was one of the biggest epicenters for weapons-grade plutonium in the entire Soviet Union, if not the world. First codenamed City 40, this closed city was essentially the womb that birthed the Soviet nuclear program after World War II. And that's all because of the nearby Mayak Production Association, one of the largest nuclear power plants in the USSR. These days, the Mayak facility works mostly in commercial recycling of spent nuclear fuel from other plants and nuclear submarines, producing cobalt-60, iridium-192, and carbon-14. And that's probably for the best, because in 1957, the Mayak site was the cause for one of the most disastrous nuclear accidents in history. In fact, it's considered second only to Chernobyl in radioactive catastrophes. A failure in the cooling systems caused a tank containing tens of thousands of tons of dissolved nuclear waste to explode, spreading dangerous levels of radioactivity over 5,800 to 7,700 square miles, an area known as the East Urals radioactive trace. An estimated 49 to 55 people died of radiation-induced cancer, 66 were diagnosed with chronic radiation syndrome, 10,000 people were evacuated from their homes, and 470,000 people were exposed to radiation. For context, while the Seversk incident was a Level 3 serious incident on a scale that went from 0 to 7, the incident here at Mayak was rated a Level 6. And this awful incident wasn't even the last time something like this happened at Mayak. In 1968, workers caused a criticality incident that resulted in an evacuation and someone receiving a lethal dose of radiation. And even as late as 2017, the improper procedure at Mayak resulted in a leak of the radioactive isotope ruthenium-106 into the air across Europe. We hope the people who live in Ozorsk have excellent health insurance. Now let's go from a city that helps to make nukes to a city that helps to make black holes. Number 13. Schnehinsk. Originally established in 1955 as residential settlement number 2, Schnehinsk is located in the dangerously polluted Chelyabinsk Oblast. Even by 1992, it remained shrouded in secrecy because this wasn't just any town, it was one of the Soviet Union's most critical hubs for nuclear weapons research and development. The place isn't a weapons development hub anymore, but it hasn't given up its scientific roots. The closed city is now home to the All-Russian Scientific Research Institute of Technical Physics, which has been crucial in fabricating parts for the CMS detector being built for the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. However, despite its technological contributions now being open to the global community, it's still a closed city. which has resulted in some weird culture shock for visiting scientists. According to Nural Akshurin, another collaborator to the CERN project, it's hard to get to, but a very beautiful place with great people. To get there, you fly to Ekaterinburg in the Urals and drive for 2 hours on country roads. All of a sudden, guards and barbed wire appear. Once you're there, you have a minder, a guy who follows you everywhere. You feel like you have gone back 50 years. But enough about a closed city involved in matters here on Earth. It's time to explore one connecting Russia to the stars. Number 12. Silokovski. Silokovski is the smallest closed city yet. As of its 2010 census, it had a population of around 5,900. But it makes up for its small population with its outsized influence on the Russian space program, because it plays host to the Vostochny Cosmodrome. With its name meaning Eastern Spaceport, the plans for the facility were first announced by President Vladimir Putin in 2010, with the intention of reducing Russia's dependence on the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The construction was set back with accusations of corruption and embezzlement, with almost $165 million being stolen by shady contractors. But despite the rocky start, the Cosmodrome was completed in August 2011, and it saw its first proper launch in 2016. Space travel is really in this city's blood, with even its modern name paying tribute to Russian rocket science pioneer Konstantin Eduardovich Tsiolkovsky. But our next closed city is involved in rocketry of a very different kind. Number 11. Triogorni. Triogorni, which loosely translates to a town of 3 mountains, is yet another closed city in the Chelyabinsk Oblast with a population of almost 34,300. Its center of industry and the reason it's closed is plant number 933, a factory believed to be critical in the production of nuclear weapons. The nuke industry is so pivotal in the running of Triogorni that the town flag even has an atomic symbol in the center. But despite being in the most polluted oblast in Russia, it still does have its very own little tourism industry, including a page on TripAdvisor. If you find yourself in that neck of the woods, you can book a stay at the Hotel Sinigori or the Porogi Hotel. And while you're there, you can visit the Salavatu Lev Museum. Just make sure to bring your Geiger counter. And in our next town, you have some extremely interesting company. Number 10. Seversk. Moving away from the Chelyabinsk Oblast, Seversk was basically built from scratch by the Russian military in the Altai Krai region. Its existence began in 1979 on the orders of Vladimir Fedorovich Tolubko, who had an incredibly impressive collection of titles: Commander-in-Chief of the Rocket Forces, General of the Army, and later Chief Marshal of Artillery. He wanted to create a military facility for the 35th Red Banner Orders of Kutuzov and Alexander Nevsky Rocket Division of the Strategic Rocket Forces of Russia. When construction began in 1980, it wasn't much to look at. The soldiers and construction workers were sleeping in tents and trailers. By 1982, they had structures like barracks and residential buildings in place, so the 1st Missile Regiment could be put to work as quickly as possible. These days, it has a population of around 10,800, a lot of which are military personnel and their families. But the next closed city has something that Seversk doesn't: a giant, terrifying hole. Number 9. Minne. Much like Silokovski, Minne, meaning peaceful in Russian, is another city that is closed because it contains some critical government infrastructure, namely the Plesetsk Cosmodrome, which was initially developed as a site for launching the R-7 Semyorka intercontinental ballistic missile. It was later converted into a spaceport after the conclusion of the Cold War. Minne is also within convenient driving distance to the Plestsy Airport and the Mir Diamond Quarry, a massive pit from which $14 billion in diamonds were extracted by the Alrosa Mining Company. It was also the site of a tragedy in 2017 when a flood in the bottom of the quarry killed 8 people. And it's not nearly as mysterious as our next bizarre little closed city. Number 8. Znamensk. Znamensk is so mysterious, the rumors around it are downright supernatural. Tucked away in the Astrakhan Oblast, it's home to around 24,600 people, but hardly anyone on the outside really knows what goes on there. Originally named Kasputin Yar 1, it was established in 1948 by the Russian military as a top-secret missile testing facility known as the 4th State Central Inter-Specific Test Site. Now it plays host to a cosmodrome that launches small satellites into orbit. A strangely unique feature to the Znamensk closed city is the number of domestic conspiracy theories that have popped up around it. One was that the Znamensk launch site was a place where pre-Yuri Gagarin cosmonauts were secretly blasted off into space, only to never return. Their missions were quietly erased from history. An even more outlandish conspiracy theory that popped up was that it was a hub of UFO activity, and the Russian government was using the base as a front to study them. And despite this being the only closed city with literal alien theories around it, there are still much weirder ones to come. Number 7. Jelsnogorsk. Formerly known as Krasnoyarsk 26 due to being based in Krasnoyarsk Krai, Zelenogorsk is yet another closed city that has worked on producing plutonium for nuclear weapons. Because of its position in the Saiyan Mountains, it's in a perfect place to host a variety of military installations. These facilities include the Krasnoyarsk Mining and Chemical Combine, a military reprocessing facility, a commercial nuclear waste storage facility, and a center for a satellite manufacturing company. Many of the key nuclear and military facilities were built within caverns excavated in the granite mountain on the northern edge of the city. The area is also a key moving part of the Russian GLONASS system, which is the Russian equivalent of American GPS. Because of all of this, Zelenogorsk has developed nicknames like Iron City and Atom Town. It's also got a darkly hilarious rumor attached to it. A legend says that this closed city was never successfully infiltrated by Western espionage. But a local man did steal some highly radioactive plutonium from one of the hidden mountain facilities and kept it in a jar in his home. Was he planning to sell it to the Americans or perform some major act of terrorism? Nope. According to the rumors, he just wanted to use it to poison his mother-in-law. Let's leave the mysterious mountains for now and get into the secrets hiding in the waters. Number 6. Villinsk. Villinsk was originally named Seversk when it was first founded back in 1968. Technically, it was a Frankenstein creation of 3 other settlements already in the Kamchatka Krai region: Rybachi, Primorsky, and Saldevaya. And all these settlements were united with one purpose: building nuclear submarines for the Soviet Navy. And despite fears that the Navy base in Villinsk would be shuttered in 2003 due to a lack of funding, it received a cash injection that allowed them to expand their facilities in the late 2000s. They even had an added sports facility with a built-in water park, which was opened by President Putin himself. So, at least if you get assigned to this closed city, you'll get to enjoy some water slides while you're not building nuclear submarines. But it's not nearly as radioactive as our next hidden city. Number 5. Novarosk. Novarosk is a closed town situated in the Sverdlovsk Oblast on the eastern side of the Ural Mountains, with a population of just under 77,900. This was actually one of the earlier secret settlements, first being established as Sverdlovsk 44 before the Second World War was even done. Like a lot of the closed areas on this list, it wouldn't become a matter of public knowledge until 1994. The reason the city was first closed was the Ural Electrochemical Combine, a plant that specialized in producing highly enriched uranium since 1949, making it a lodestar in the earliest stages of the Soviet nuclear weapons program. It also served a diplomatic function, performing work on behalf of the Soviet allies, Kazakhstan and China. In addition to its uses in enrichment, the facility also became one of the Eastern Bloc's most prolific producers of gaseous diffusion equipment with centrifuge technology. In the early 2000s, the Ural Electrochemical Combine was even more important to the Russian enrichment program than it was to the Soviets. At its height, it accounted for 49% of its uranium enrichment capacity. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Some cities are closed because of manufacturing facilities, others are closed because, well, they're home to some extremely dangerous men. Number 4. Ozorsk. Ozorsk is another of the earliest closed cities ever established. It was created all the way back in the 1930s in the Tver Oblast as a way to serve the Vypozhevo military air base. As of 2021, it had a population of approximately 9,900. Over time, the settlement grew as more troops were deployed there. In the 1960s, it became the new base of operations for the 7th Guards Rocket Division, a contingent of the Russian military's strategic rocket forces. This was when it officially became a closed city, renamed Bologoye 4 as the Rocket Division became the area's biggest employer. And we hear that it gave great employee benefits too. Our next closed city, however, might give you the unfortunate employee benefit of contracting aggressive radiation-induced cancer. Number 3. Zelenogorsk. Zelenogorsk, originally known as Krasnoyarsk 45, has a population of 59,300 and is located in the Krasnoyarsk Krai region. Like a lot of the cities on this list, they mined and refined uranium ore for the country's nuclear weapons program. However, when the Cold War ended, the facility shifted gears from providing uranium to Russia to supplying that same uranium to the United States. In 1993, the US and Russia signed the United States-Russia Highly Enriched Uranium Purchase Agreement, and Zelenogorsk has been a valuable low-enriched uranium hookup for Uncle Sam ever since. Despite no longer being such a seat of classified activities and even being placed on Russian maps, the inhabitants of the city cast a vote deciding to remain a closed city. To this day, you can only get in with a special entry permit given by the city's authorities. We guess they just like their privacy. The next city, on the other hand, has a very good reason to remain a closed book. Number 2. Krasnos Nammensk. Originally known as Golitsino II when it was first established back in 1950, Krasnos Nammensk is in the Moscow Oblast, the same oblast as the nation's capital, and as of 2021 it had a population of roughly 43,300. Over the first 7 years of the closed city's establishment, the Soviet government opened up the Titov main test site and Space Systems Control Center, the most important mission control center for military satellites in all of the USSR. The facility, named after the famous cosmonaut German Stepanovich Titov, is another key player in keeping the Russian GLONASS system up and running. There have been numerous rumors about spy satellites being launched from Krasnos Nammensk, though we don't have any surefire confirmation on that just yet. But it wouldn't be a list of closed cities without one more purveyor of nuclear weapons. Number 1. Lisnoi. Lisnoi is another closed town in the Sverdlovsk Oblast with a population of almost 49,600 as of 2021. It was effectively built around Plant 418 in 1947 with the goal of, yeah, you guessed it, producing highly enriched weapons-grade uranium. It officially became a closed city in 1954 when it was renamed Sverdlovsk 45. And with this many secret towns producing countless nuclear weapons for the USSR's ever-growing arsenal, it is really a miracle that any of us got out of the Cold War alive. Russia's secret cities are locked away from the world, but what about the places you can visit at your own risk? Watch Inside the Most Dangerous Cities in the World to find out which vacation spots could be your last.